K98 Talk is expanding its lineup for 2015. This means we are expanding our advertising base. Whether you're a startup trying to push through to the next level or an established business trying to supplement your advertising budget, web-based advertising is a solid investment. Thanks to Talk's newest partnership with TuneIn Radio and instant access to our sister station, K98 FM, we give you worldwide access at a reasonable cost. Interested parties should email us at sales@k98fm.com. K98Talk.com, a leader in Internet radio. So grab your seatbelts and take the ride of your life on K98Talk.com.
We will keep this promise to the American people. If you like your doctor, you will be able to keep your doctor, period. If you like your health care plan, you will be able to keep your health care plan, period.
This is the most transparent administration in history. Not even a smidgen of corruption.
Fact is, we had 4 dead Americans. What difference at this point does it make?
If you got a business, you didn't build that.
Oh, welcome to the face. Welcome to the face of the new democracy. Don't expect just to admit a mistake. We're paying off election debts to those on the take. Attorney General's lying even while
It's time to hear the truth about America's biggest challenges. You're listening to America Off the Rails with your host, Rick Robinson.
Well, good morning. It is Saturday, March 14th, 2015, and it is officially Pi Day. I know I talked about this for those of you who've been listening for the full 3 hours. We did talk about this for a minute on Finding Common Ground, but I know some of you that like this show don't listen to that show because, you know, that show has a liberal co-host on it, and some of you, a liberal starts talking and your ears start bleeding. Which means you probably didn't catch Bryce's show either, but we did have him on right before this one. He actually had a young conservative on with him, and they went toe-to-toe over economics, and I think they both held their ground pretty well. It was, honestly, for the last half hour, it was kind of like finding common ground the next generation, and we were kind of, Bryce and I were teasing about that after the show was over, about, you know, at some point if Dave and I decide we're too old to keep this stuff going, at least we may have found somebody to take both roles at some point. But anyway, so yes, it is Pi Day. It is also Einstein's birthday, which somehow I always seem to forget. And then it dawned on me right as he was asking the question earlier. You know, he never has understood why Einstein is always so prevalent on Pi Day, and it just so happens to be his birthday, which is why. So lots of stuff on the show today. Most of it not good, I have to say. I'm getting so frustrated with the whole Ferguson situation. And it's really starting to drive me just a little crazy, because this is to the point where it is completely out of control. I mean, and you know, the opening of this show, you know, they talk about, you know, the new democracy, blah, blah, blah. My thought for that is, welcome to the home of the new democracy, you know, where the president goes on a full, 15-minute speech after over the whole Brown situation, and 2 cops are basically attempted to be assassinated in Ferguson, and he sends out a tweet. And then we have Eric Holder, the biggest douchebag of them all, talking about how whoever did this was a punk. You know, it's half of the reason this crap is going on is because of you idiots, both in our administration and in the media. And Bryce and I kind of went toe-to-toe on this today, and I gotta say, I got a little heated, because he made a comment that honestly really did irritate me, and I point-blank told him as much, because he keeps bringing up the situation in, and I think it was Minnesota, but I'm not 100% sure, where there was a white guy who was basically walking around in front of a school with some sort of a rifle, and the police responded and dealt with the situation appropriately. And then, of course, he, in his youthful exuberance, basically spouted off that, you know, if this had been a black guy walking around in Minnesota carrying a gun, he would have been. He didn't say the word shot. He didn't say, you know, he said he would have been mowed down. Okay, so here's the thing that irritates me when people that have never done this type of job want to sit around and armchair criticize everybody that's ever done it and possibly may have even done something wrong. Until you were, again, and I've said this before, I'm going to say it again, until you were in a situation where you have maybe a split second to decide if you are going to go home or if your partner is going to go home or if one of the other responding officers with you is going to go home, or the guy that you're dealing with who's pointing a gun in your general direction is going to go home, or who has beat the crap out of you and then you're still trying to do your job and apprehending him, then not only that, but the dude turns around and charges at you. And no, this is back to the Ferguson incident. You know, all of this stuff was proven out multiple times. The grand jury said, hey, he didn't do anything wrong. That wasn't good enough for the Obama administration. They had to have Holder look into it. Now, Holder looks into it. Even he admitted that the officer, Mr. Wilson, is exonerated. He didn't do anything inappropriate with the evidence that he has in front of him, which means the media and administration and even Congress perpetuated a damn lie and nobody's calling them on it. The hands up, don't shoot thing that everybody's been spouting everywhere. That never happened. It didn't happen. How is Mr. Wilson supposed to get his good name back? He has been dragged through the mud over and over and over again and made to look like the biggest white racist bigoted guy ever, and none of it was anything that he did. Now we have, because it's all started up again, because, you know, there has to be something. There's something that somebody's not telling us somewhere, so, because there's no way that what that cop did was justified. So now there's a bunch of protesting again because of the fact that they found out, 90% of the Ferguson police force is white, and they found some emails, and they found statistically that they are dealing with the black population more than they're dealing with any other segment of the population. Okay, so let's use some common sense for just a moment. 90% of the police force is white. Is that because 90% of the police force that's applied has been white? Most likely, yes. Because most black people don't even want to be police officers because they automatically see anybody with a badge as an enemy. And I'm not saying that to be mean, racist, or anything else. I have talked to people who have told me point blank that same thing. There is no way that anybody in my family or anybody that I know that is a person of color would ever sign up to be a police officer, because at that point we would then become part of the problem. Because that's how that whole segment of society views the police force. But let's be really honest. Is the true reason that they are dealing more predominantly with the African American community, could it possibly be because that's the largest segment of the population in that particular town that feels like the law doesn't apply to them? We are all over news media today about Hillary Clinton, old fat white lady with email that she shouldn't have had, and now she's out talking about how she didn't feel like the law necessarily applied to her. So that's my question for the day. Are we getting all ginned up again over numbers and statistics that nobody's willing to talk about, when if you really look at the numbers, if we could honestly, really, legitimately look at the numbers without somebody spinning them to one point or the other, I guarantee you what you would likely find is, yeah, they are dealing predominantly with the African American community, because predominantly in that town, the African American community is the one that doesn't seem that the law applies to them. You don't believe me? Look what happened after the Ferguson incident. They went nuts and burnt the damn town down. And don't tell me that it wasn't as bad as it looks, that the right-leaning media that a lot of people were looking at made it worse. I've seen the AP pictures. It looked like a damn war zone. So let's just be legitimately honest with each other for a moment. Yes, there is a problem in this country. No, it is not the problem that we think it is. It's the fact that we have this profit-driven news media running rampant on the right side and the left side, and all they're doing is telling whoever will listen to whatever version of their story whatever they need to tell them to make sure that they're still selling advertising space. That is the biggest problem in this country. We've dealt with all of the other crap. I know, because I've done this job, both public sector and private sector. And anytime I was dealing with anybody, it didn't matter to me what color their skin was. It mattered to me what I was there dealing with them for. That's the God's honest truth. I don't care if you're white, purple with polka dots, black, gray, red, yellow, orange, whatever color you are, that doesn't matter at the point where I'm starting to have to deal with you for possibly breaking the law. Or for possibly doing something that you and I both know was stupid. Doesn't matter to me what color you are anymore. What matters to me at that point is, will you cooperate long enough for me to find out why I'm having to deal with you in the first place? Or will you start trying to attack me? Or will you draw a weapon? Because if any of those things start happening, it doesn't matter to me what color you are anymore. What matters to me is, do I get to go home and see my family that night? And I guarantee you 95 or more % of the police population feel exactly the same way, except now they all feel like they're running around with a target on their back, because they legitimately are. You want to know why 90% of the police populations in most of the country is white? We've talked about it a minute ago. It's because those are the people that are applying. Yes, there are Asian police officers. Yes, there are Hispanic police officers. Yes, there are African American. I really hate that word, but everybody yells at me every time I use the word black. I hate African American. Most of you that are using that hyphenated term have never even set foot in Africa. I don't understand the concept there. But we'll keep running with it until I can figure out another word to use, because when I start talking about multiple races at the same time, person of color really doesn't seem to fit anymore, because most of the people that I'm talking about all happen to be people of color. But yes, there are people that have applied, but they're in smaller numbers, because a lot of the minority populations come from countries where police officers are bad things. I mean, think about it. In Mexico, how legitimate are the police forces there? In Vietnam, in most of Asia, how legitimate are the police officers there? You start getting one of those folks to talk to police officers, is like pulling teeth. But why can we not legitimately sit down and have a discussion about what is actually going on in this country? We have now gotten to the point where police officers are being targeted. You don't believe me? Look at what happened to the 2 officers in New York City before this one ever happened. There were 2 officers gunned down in New York City. Now we have the shooting of 2 officers in Ferguson. And we have the statement made by someone shortly after the shooting, where they basically said if this had been addressed 9 months ago, this wouldn't have happened. And that's basically exactly how they said it. They weren't upset about it. They weren't crying. They weren't screaming. They weren't yelling. They were psychopathically telling anybody who would listen, hey, this wouldn't have happened, but you guys effed up. So guess what? Yeah. So my question is, after hearing that, and after talking to a few people that I know that are still in law enforcement that have done some voice analysis work in the past, is that the shooter, or is that someone that knows the shooter? I mean, because, you know, the simple fact of the matter is, most likely this had to have taken place with a rifle at a little bit of a distance. So was that the shooter, or was that the shooter's spotter? And did they just suddenly decide, you know, they had to make a statement after they knew they'd hit the police officers but not killed them? Simple fact of the matter is, this was an assassination attempt. Plain and simple. Somebody decided cops needed to pay because they're hurting the people of color. You know, I've said it before, and I'll say it again. And at this point, you know what? Since we're back to this again, I'm going to let somebody else say it, who isn't an old fat white guy, because then I can quit being called a racist, because I'm so tired of being called racist about this stuff over and over and over again, and it's just driving me crazy. Because I keep telling people you need to look at the entire situation before you decide whether or not you are going to consider this a Ferguson or a racial incident. So, this is a little old, but we're going to play it anyway. Sorry, I actually wasn't planning on playing it, so we're going to have to get it queued up. But at this point, it kind of fits. And at least this way you can hear it from somebody who's actually not an old fat white guy.
Us acting a fool out here because we pissed off at the police is not helping. I said this before and I said it again. Change is not going to come until we change it. You understand what I'm saying? This is not helping. Change isn't going to come until we change it. All we know how to do is march and riot and loot. This is not helping. What you guys are out here doing is not helping. And I hate to say this, but I'm going to tell you what you need to hear, imposing to what you want to hear. All we know how to do is blame the police and white folks for our actions. That's all we know how to do is blame police and white folks. They mistreating us. They beating on us. Oh, slavery still exists. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. I'm not going to tell you we going to march, we going to do this, we going to do that. I'm going to tell you, damn it, let's change. Let's change as black people. When is this going to stop? When? How are our children supposed to grow up when we out here acting a stone fool? How are our kids supposed to grow up and we out here acting stupid? How? How? Even the book of Deuteronomy in chapter 2, verse 3, God said, we have toiled this mountain long enough. We have toiled this mountain long enough. 40 plus years they spent in the wilderness. It's been over 50 years since we sang that song, We Shall Overcome. Hell, when are we gonna overcome? When? That was 50 plus years ago, and all we doing is going around in circles. Going around in circles. You activists out there, you civil rights leaders, all of a sudden Black Panthers, NAACP come out the woodworks. They just came out of nowhere. Oh, we gonna want justice. We want justice. No justice, no peace. That's all you see. No justice, no peace. Shut up. When there was 60 plus shootings in Chicago a few weeks back, where were you? Nowhere to be found. A few weeks later, it was 47 drive-bys in one weekend. Where were you? Nowhere to be found. When Lil Ray kills Little Lukey, where were you? Nowhere to be found. Okay, when them little girl was shot when she was riding her tricycle in the front yard and stray bullets hit her, where were you? Nowhere to be found. Police beat up on a black man. Oh, slavery still exists. Slavery still exists. Oh, shut up. Because I hate to say this, and I know this is going to piss a lot of people off. All the incidents I seen, all the brothers was resisting arrest and causing trouble. Okay? Hate to tell the truth. Hate to tell the truth. Because I want to debunk that myth as far as being young and black and mistreated. I'm young, black, I drive a brand new BMW and live in the valley. How many encounters have I had with the police? Many. How many times has it got out of control? None. 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 So I want to debunk that myth about us getting mistreated and slavery. Oh, all they know how to do is beat on the black man. Nonsense. Nonsense. Because I had many encounters with the police and I became good friends with them. Tell me how come I could live that life and you can't? Tell me. It's time for us to change as black people. Marching ain't cutting it. All you civil rights leaders, all you jokers out there telling us, oh, we need to do this, we need to do that. We need to change. The book of Deuteronomy, I said again, chapter 2, verse 3, God said we have toiled this mountain.
All right, so as he starts to wind down, you know, I mean, he was pretty worked up about it here as well, and I do have to say I agree with a lot of what he said. Now, we'll be taking a break here in a couple of minutes, but before we do that, I've got one more that I want to play, and then maybe one more when we get back. Just because, you know, I mean, it's really easy for an old fat white guy who used to be somebody who wears a badge to basically sit around and say, you know, but you know, and then that's basically what happens is I get told I'm an old fat white guy who has no idea what it's like to grow up as a person of color. So that being said, I'm letting you guys hear it again from people that are people of color and have very specific things to say about what's been happening now for going on quite some time, because it seems like every time we think we've moved past it, we're back there again. So let's hear one more clip, shall we?
What's up, y'all? I know it's a pretty diverse group of people that's watching this, and that's cool, but this one's going out specifically to my black people. Now, I'm going to say this once. Yes, slavery was one of the most horrific things that ever happened in human history. Yes, racism still exists. It's probably always going to exist. Just get over that. And yes, there are law enforcement officers out there that take things too far, abuse their power. They're humans. We're a flawed species. With that being said, today we're going to talk about personal responsibility. Black people, it is 2014. Hate to break this to you. If your life is messed up, it ain't because of slavery. Your ass was never a slave. You probably ain't know nobody that was a slave. You probably don't know nobody that knew nobody that was a slave. Slavery ended a long time ago. Yes, it put us in a big hole in this country, but guess what? Dig your way out of it. Civil rights, about 50 years ago. I don't know if y'all know, we won. Google it, we won. Yeah, it was a fight. They marched, they sat in, we won. So in 2014, if your life is messed up, look in the mirror, figure out what you're doing, what you're not doing. Take some personal responsibility for yourselves, for your lives. I understand, sometimes you can't help the hand you were dealt. You were born in the ghetto, in the projects, you were born in a bad situation. Nothing you can do about that. But what you can do is do your best to get out of it. If you live in a messed up neighborhood, let me give you a little advice. Stop messing it up. Ain't no rich white man sneaking into the hood in the middle of the night, spray painting graffiti, peeing in hallways. George Bush ain't out in the neighborhoods selling crack on the corner. You know what I'm saying? If your neighborhood is messed up, it's because the people in the neighborhood continually mess it up. All this, stop snitching, everything no, start snitching. Go out there, clean your neighborhood up, and then keep it clean. Somebody come through after y'all clean it up, messing up, snitch on them. Call the police. Y'all like to pull your little camera phones out and record little ignorance and put it on WorldStar? Pull your camera phones out and record crime, get out to the police so that way people can be prosecuted and we can stop this cycle. Teach your kids something. Guess what? Swag and Jordans and everything like that, that's cute. But guess what? No, get you an education. Get an education, get a job, better yourself, better your situation. Let's talk about the police violence. Told y'all the other day, stop bringing stuff upon yourself, be complicit. The little video of my man Powell that got shot in St. Louis. Why would you think it's a good idea to run up on two cops when they tell you to stop, put down whatever you got? I'm going to keep coming at them, then they're going to shoot me. Now it's black people, we supposed to be mad, and oh my God, we need to go out there and march right. No, we don't. Stop doing crime. Here's the thing. Let's talk about Trayvon Martin for a second. Now, George Zimmerman had no business running off on that kid, and it's a shame that somebody lost their child. But the thing that nobody talked about with Trayvon Martin, in this day and age, why is it that when people see a young black man, the first thing they think of, what's he doing? Is he up to no good? He looks like trouble. You know why that is? Because that's our perception. Because that's the perception that we keep giving people. The way we act, the way we carry ourselves, the fact that how many young men out there have criminal records before they turn 18? How many men out there before they turn 25 have been incarcerated at least once? And then we want to talk about, the justice system isn't fair, they come down hard on us. Okay, that may be true, but did you do it? Just because they gave you more time than they might have gave the white person, if you hadn't done the crime in the first place, you wouldn't have got any time. So stop using that as a damn excuse. If you already know that they're going to come down hard on you, that should be even more of an incentive to stop doing crime. Stop being ignorant. Stop glorifying ignorance. This little rap lifestyle that we looking at, Lil Wayne, all these rappers out there, that's not real life. That's the kind of life that leaves you dead or in jail. And it's a damn shame that in 2014, we are still talking about this. We are still talking about the same stuff that's been all in the Tyler Perry movies, all in the John Singletary movies that we was talking about back in the 90s, Boys in the Hood, black on black crime, stop killing and looting. We need to stop being ignorant, take some responsibilities for ourselves, change our perception, the way people see us in the world. You want the cops to stop messing with you? Stop giving them a reason to. You get pulled over for DWB, for those of y'all don't know, that's driving while black. Don't be mad at the cop. Be mad at the brothers that came before you to give the reputation to the black man for a cop. See, hey, look, there's a car full of brothers. They're probably up to no good. Get to the point where when cops pull us over for nothing, they keep coming up empty. Eventually, they'll stop pulling us over. But right now, hey, there's a car full of brothers. Let's pull them over. Oh, somebody got a warrant. Oh, somebody got a weapon. Oh, somebody got some drugs. So yeah, they're going to keep doing it. Why? Because it works. You go to the crap table, you roll the dice, you keep coming up with 7, you keep rolling the dice. You start crapping out, you'll stop rolling them damn dice. Stop giving the police, stop giving the public at large reasons to look at us like we're second-class citizens. We get looked at like that because a lot of us act like that. And it may not be the majority of us, but it's the perceived majority of us, because it's the ones that you see out there on the WorldStar videos, on the internet, on Facebook, just acting ignorant, just acting like we don't have no damn sense, like we don't have pride as a people. Have some pride in yourself. Take responsibility for your life. Everything is not somebody else's fault. Sometimes it's just you. Empire. I'm just saying.
All right, so there you heard it from a couple of guys that aren't an old fat white guy sitting in a chair yelling into a microphone, but I think both of them said some very important things. And this is something that I have to completely agree with. If your life sucks, I don't care what color you are. Let's just get that straight right now. Black, white, purple, pink with polka dots, whatever color you are. If your life sucks, please do everyone a favor before you start whining and take a long, hard look in the mirror. What have you done that maybe you could have done differently? How old are you, and do you have a chance to go back and change some of the things that you know you should have done differently now to make your life better in the future? Are you just going to sit back and whine and talk about how the government needs to take care of you for the rest of your life because you're so misfortunate? It's not fair. You know what? This is one of the things that irritates me to no end about the human species. Where did this concept of fairness even come from? Because life, if you look... Let's put everything aside for a second and just take a look at the world for what it is. If you look at the animal kingdom, what about anything that the animals go through on a daily basis leads you to somehow believe that there is some sort of universal fairness out there? It is, they eat each other for God's sake to survive. I mean, and we are, whether we want to admit it or not, we are a part of that particular ecosystem. So I'm not saying that because we have, I mean, you know, you can debate all you want whether or not humans are more intelligent than animals, because the more we study them, the more we find out that in some ways, some of them might be as intelligent as us or even more intelligent than us. But at the same time, they still don't have this concept of waking up every day going, oh man, life's not fair. I gotta go out and try to find something to eat or I'm gonna starve because, you know, maybe just maybe if I sit here long enough, somebody's gonna decide to take care of me. We're the only species that does that. If we sit around long enough, somebody's going to feel sorry for us and come help us. We're the only species that does that to other species. Well, why do you think there's all these signs out that say, hey, don't feed the animals? Because it makes them dependent. They don't leave. We now, even in my own state, now have ducks that refuse to fly south for the winter because they know that somebody's going to be coming by and feeding them no matter how cold it is outside. And some people even feed them more because they're there when it's cold. And they don't even feed them the things that are good for them. They make them fat and unable to fly because they're feeding them bread when they could be feeding them seeds or grapes or whatever else it is they want to eat. But no, the bread's easier and cheaper. And it makes us feel better, so we throw it out. Now, where am I going with that? Last little bit of a comment. What are we doing? We're helping people in our estimation, so it's making us feel better. But at the same time, we're not actually helping because we're hurting, but because we have all of these government programs that are out there, and they're supposed to make everybody's lives better, we can all sleep at night now, and it's no longer our responsibility because we've turned it over to the government. Now, who is it that's being most adversely affected by these particular programs? The same people that we're talking about all over the place right now, because they're the ones that fell into the trap because they started listening to people that said, hey, you've had a child. There's a government program for that. Oh, and you know, if you kick the dad out of the house, hey, we'll kick you some more money. But even better, if you can go have a kid with somebody else, hey, we'll give you some more money too, and then you can kick them to the curb. So now you've got all of these people, and unfortunately now it's happening everywhere. But it was originally designed, like a lot of the things that have come out have been originally designed to cripple the African American community. If you do not believe me, then please do a little bit of research. Look into what the founder of, I believe it was the founder of Planned Parenthood, all the way back in the day, look at what they've quoted her as to saying. Planned Parenthood was initially designed to make the black community extinct. Nobody wants to talk about that anymore because abortion is a good thing. Abortion is a choice. Abortion is a right. You know what? I'm not going to argue that with you. I've given you my opinions. As far as I'm concerned, abortion is an abomination. But I do not hold other people to that standard because I can't. And let's face it, if we try to reverse Roe v. Wade, then what's going to happen is we're going to go back to people that are already trying to do it anyway, and they're going to be doing it with coat hangers. Now, that doesn't mean that I think abortion should be legal, but it means that I understand that at this point it's going to have to be legal so that we can probably, hopefully, try to get it back to what Roe v. Wade originally intended, which is safe, rare, and legal. It is, the only thing you can really say about it right now is it's safe and legal, because there's in some states you see a Planned Parenthood more often than you see a 7-Eleven. Let's just be legit here. But that's the whole point. I mean, all of these things are being glorified when in actuality, they were set up to not only hopefully weed out the black population as a whole, they were also set up to, if nothing else, make them dependent, because then they require government help to survive. It's no different than the LBJ situation, where he was actually quoted as saying, even though I am turning against my own party, if I can get these civil rights amendments passed, then we will have these bleep voting for us for the next 150 years. And they did, and they have. And that's one of the biggest turning points for the Democratic Party in this whole idea that suddenly the Democratic Party flip-flopped and they became the Republican Party that was the one that was anti-slavery. No, what they did was one of their biggest prominent leaders turned against their entire ideology and said, if we do this, we can have their vote forever. And then not really around that same time, but a couple of decades before, we had folks setting up things like Planned Parenthood in the hopes of extinguishing black society. And then we had all these government programs, and it turns out that a lot of them that were originally using those programs happened to have been African American. And they were basically told point blank, don't get married, have more kids, kick them out, we'll give you more money. Now, the downside is now we have plenty of people of every color using that same logic. Good, bad, indifferent, however you want to see it. As far as I'm concerned, the economic systems we have in place for the things like food stamps, temporary aid to needy families, all of that different stuff, that should be being used as a hand up, not a hand out. We have too many people where those social safety nets that everybody likes to call them, in reality, have become social spider webs. Because, yeah, they catch you when you fall, but you can't get out of them again. And even if you can get out of them, it's very, very difficult. I have ran my own business for 14 years before the economy crashed. I started a private investigations firm. I ran it for 14 years. I had people that were working with me, that were working for me, that because of, let's face it, security doesn't pay well. Even when I was building everything up, a lot of times to try to even get our foot in the door, I'd have to undercut whoever they had just let go of to even try to get my foot in the door. So a lot of the folks that were working with me when we first were building everything up, they still qualified for a lot of the programs. So as my company started building up and the people that had been with me longer, I started saying, hey, you've been here with me for a while. Let's get you, now that we're a little more solvent, let's get you a decent raise, get you to the point where you're making a good living. You know what half of them would tell me invariably? If you pay me that much money per hour, then you're going to get me to the point where I'm off of the food stamps and the other assistance that I need. So technically, I'm making more money with you paying me what you're paying me, and the fact that my wife doesn't work and our 2 kids are at home. And that's how these systems are designed, and nobody wants to talk about it. And trust me, I'm still getting back around to where we were, and honestly, at this point, I have completely overshot the break, so we're going to take that here in a second, too. I'm still getting back to where we were, because all of this stuff ties together. So when we come back from the break, I'm going to bring everything back full circle, and I'm going to try to explain to you exactly why I think all of this has been a bad thing from the jump. And then I will probably be called an old fat white racist again. But hey, life goes on. It's fun. It's what I do. As I get yelled at for trying to be honest with people and trying to open their eyes a little bit instead of just basically ranting and raving. But hey, it's fun. It's what I do. So we will be right back here in just a couple of minutes, folks. Maybe.
I'm Steve Long of Liberty Unfiltered. If you're tired of hearing the same Republican and Democrat banner from the mainstream media, join me on Wednesday nights at 9 H Central as I crawl out of the cesspool of partisan politics and bring the fight for freedom against the advocates of big government to the masses.
Tune into The Family Factor with Denny C. every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday morning at 5 a.m. as he looks at all the challenges facing the family today. Denny will give you a refreshingly new look at tackling some of the biggest issues. So start your day off on the right foot with Denny C. and The Family Factor, right here on K98Talk.com.
This is Misty, owner of Waxit Studio in Edmond, Oklahoma, and I'm here to talk to you about a skincare product called Theramedics. Theramedics has a wonderful line of products from anti-aging to hyperpigmentations all the way to acne. In fact, everyone at some point in our life is affected by acne. Acne can cause a great deal of embarrassment and anxiety, and in order to prevent and help other people, I have tapped into this wonderful product called Theramedics. Visit my website at www.prettyskindeep.com. Again, that's www.prettyskindeep.com.
The staff of K98 Talk and the Spark Radio Network is proud to announce that our very own Rowdy Rick Robinson has been selected as one of the top conservative talk show hosts in the nation for his program, America Off the Rails. Again, congratulations to Rowdy Rick Robinson for a job well done and another reason to stay connected to K98 Talk and the Spark Radio Network.
For her own cause, we got a pen and telephone to bypass all your laws. Political correctness will replace the Bill of Rights. Support religious freedom, lest you pray to Jesus Christ. The press is in our pockets cause there's no longer free. You cannot make a move now that the NSA can see. Don't expect equality, respect, or fair play. The IRS will target those who vote the wrong way. Welcome to the place.
Hey y'all, this is Sam Janney, also known as The Bunny, and you're listening to America Off the Rails.
All right, folks, we're back. We're live, and that was my good friend Sam Janney. We talk a lot on Twitter, and for those of you who do follow me on Twitter, in case you hadn't noticed it yet, my favorite Twitter rock star actually got one of her tweets picked up by the media again. I did retweet it, so feel free to go find it. All you really got to do to get there, if nothing else, is to go click the follow button for me at _R_OKC. And since I haven't done it yet, in case we've got new folks that are listening, you can find this show typically Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday and Saturday from 6 to 7 right here on K98Talk.com. Anytime the show is live, it is available on iHeartRadio. It is available on our own personal app that you can find in the App Store. If you're going to download the app, do make sure you put America Off the Rails in quotation marks. When we first set up that app, they weren't real clear as to how we needed to name it. So if you don't put it in quotation marks, it's going to take you forever to find it. So make sure you're putting it in quotes. Also, we are available anytime we're live here on K98Talk.com. On the website page, there is a server. There's a tune-in link at the top that basically brings you to whatever the live broadcast is or the most recent broadcast, because occasionally we do replays. I said doo-doo. Yeah, what can I say? Live radio. Sometimes you just don't realize what you say till it's too late. All right, so anyway. Also, if you are interested in checking out podcasts, Our shows are available on SoundCloud. Our shows are available on the Spreaker platform as a podcast as well. And also, we do have this particular show on Stitcher. So as of right now, if you like America Off the Rails, you can pretty much find us almost anywhere. And if meetings are going well with my good buddy Denny C., who's been out of town for the last few days, you might even hear us on some terrestrial radio soon. Just saying. We're working on it. We'll see what happens. All right, so anyway, back to where I was before I had to take my commercial break. Otherwise, people were going to scream and yell at me and come beat me over the head. So, where was I? Oh yeah, we were talking about all the social programs and everything else, and the fact that if you bother to look at it, even things like Planned Parenthood actually did have a bit of an agenda when they were founded. So it's not like these people that are looking at history and saying, hey, you know, the black folks ain't necessarily been treated that well. You know, it's not like we're saying you don't have an argument and you don't have a gripe. But what we are saying at this point is the same thing that a lot of these guys have been saying. You guys won a lot of your arguments a very, very long time ago. So if things are not going well in your life, much like we try to tell everybody else, if things suck, look in the mirror, see if there's anything you should be doing differently. And I know people hate to hear that because they always have to have somebody to rail against because it's human nature. Nothing is ever our fault. It's because we had blue eyes instead of, or brown eyes instead of blue eyes is why we didn't make a good model, or it's because we have bad genes, that's why we're fat, not the fact that we like to eat 4 cheeseburgers in a sitting. And yes, I'm kind of looking in the mirror when I say that, because back in the day when I was skinny, I did eat a lot of food, and I'm paying for it now, because your metabolism, as you get older, slows way down. So for anybody who's listening, who is younger, and, you know, maybe early teens, early 20s, put down the cheeseburgers. Start now. Change your eating habits, because when you get to be my age, if you don't, you're going to be looking at something in the mirror that resembles Jabba the Hutt, and you're not going to remember what it was like when you could actually bend over and see your toes. No, I'm not quite there yet, but I have been making some changes to try to make sure that I don't get there. Okay, so my little public service announcement for the day. Put down the cheeseburgers, back away slowly, eat some green stuff once in a while. It's not that bad, and it actually is healthy for you. Okay, so back to what we were talking about before, and I guess to bring it all back around, I'm going to play one last clip, and then we will finish out the show. So,
what's good, y'all? Again, I just want to thank everybody for the overwhelming support that I've gotten for these, all the likes, the shares, the comments, negative and positive. I do want to address something that was brought to my attention. I had a gentleman post a YouTube video on my page. It was, wait, hold on, let me fix my hat. There we go. The video was about how it can be difficult to file a complaint against the police or file a police report. And this was in response to one of my earlier videos when I talked about being complicit, knowing time and place when dealing with the police, and how you can go down the next day and file a complaint, things like that. And so basically, the point he was trying to make is that it's not always easy to file a complaint against the police. And to that, my response is, so what? You know what's not always easy? When you're being discriminated against and persecuted just by the color of your skin. But as a people, I believe we dealt with that problem. We fought through it, and we won civil rights. Although some of y'all like to dispute it, I don't care. We won. Look at the legislation. So now, if you encounter a little resistance by filling out a police report, so what? Fight through it. Do what you have to do. If it's that important to you, get it done. Another thing, I have a very distinguished woman who's been commenting a lot on a lot of my videos. And one of the comments she made, she's talked about how it was shaming the victims, which kind of goes back to my point. Are you always truly a victim? Just because something bad happens to you, sometimes it's your own damn fault. Personal responsibility. Now, in one of my videos, I mentioned a thing like, you know, if your life is not in a great situation, fix it, do things you need to do. Your neighborhood's messed up, stop messing it up, clean it up. Now, for those of you out there that have kids, you know, maybe the school that your kids go to isn't in the best of conditions. What are you doing about it? Have you gone down and met with the school officials? Have you met with the teachers? Have you met with the principals? Do you know, the members of the school board in your district? Have you talked with those people? You know what I'm saying? If there's not enough money in the budget for supplies, books, computers, things like that, do you know why there's not enough money in the budget? Have you discussed this with people? Is there anything you can do about it personally? Maybe you can get together with some of the other parents. Maybe y'all can have fundraisers. You know what I'm saying? Y'all got time to go out to the club, turn up, spend money on bottles, buy Jordans, buy Michael Kors bags and everything like that. Invest some of that money back into your children. You know what I'm saying? If your neighborhood's messed up, again, clean it up. If you have issues with law enforcement, do you know any of the officers that routinely patrol your neighborhood? Have you bothered to talk to these officers, approach them, be like, yo, my name is so-and-so. What's your name? Okay, these are some issues that we see going on in the community. Maybe you can help us with that. Do you know the names of their officers? Do you know who your police chief is, who your police commander is, things of that nature? Have you gone down to the police department to meet with these people, talk to them, open up a dialogue about what's going on in your neighborhood, how they can help with it, and maybe how they're hurting the problem? Have you bothered to do that? Do you know the leaders in your community? Do you know the name of your mayor? Do you know the name of your representatives? Do you know the name of your councilmen and councilwomen? Have you bothered to set up meetings with these people, go down and let them know what the issues in your community are? See what they're going to do about it, what they're not going to do about it, what they can do about it, what they can't do about it. And if you don't get satisfactory results, do you know how to replace these people? It's called voting. How many of y'all are registered to vote? How many of you guys actively vote? How many of you guys pay attention to the politics in your towns and your neighborhoods to affect change? Or do you just sit around and complain about it and wait for them and they to come in and fix it? Oh, they need to do this. They need to do that. Who in the hell is they? And what time are y'all expecting them to show up? They and them is you, me, us, and we. There is no they. It's us. Be proactive. Take some personal responsibility about your lives. Fix things that need to be fixed. Figure out how to fix things. Know the law. Learn the rules of the land. That way you can follow them, number one. And then number two, use them for your benefit. Empire. I'm just saying.
All right. So, again, I agree with everything he said. And it's one of those things where we have to start making conscious decisions. And I extend the argument out to not only people of color, because we have a lot of folks right now that, thanks to social media, get to do a lot of ranting and raving and screaming and yelling, but they're really not doing much of anything else. We are working on starting to get involved in a lot of things, and I would encourage you to do the same. If you are listening to my voice, even if you disagree with everything that I say, put down the remote, get off the couch, find a way to get involved, because at this point, if we don't start trying to affect change, soon enough there won't be anything left to fight over, and we are getting much, much closer to that than I like to think. One of the things that was brought up earlier this week, I had Jason DeWilkins on me, on me. Sorry, Jason, did not mean for that to come out the way it sounded. On with me, on America Off the Rails earlier this week, and I believe it was Wednesday. Yeah, it was Wednesday, because that was also the night that I tried to do Liberty Unfiltered with Steve Long, and there were some technical issues with that. I do believe we're going to try to do that again this week. As far as me co-hosting with him, I'll let you know, because it's his show, so I'm leaving it up to him if he wants to try it again or if he wants to move on. But as far as that goes, Jason and I were talking, and he's of the mind that at this point, if we can't get our heads out of our butts, maybe we need another few years of pain. Now, I kind of almost agree with his sentiment, because at this point we can't keep floating all these people that we know are not going to get elected, and we keep following the media's advice about how we've got to get somebody who's more towards the center. And while I'm one of those guys that I'm center-right, I'm not far-right, I'm center-right, and I understand that because, I've taken those political quizzes that have let me know exactly where, if I answer everything honestly, exactly where I fall, and I'm more center-right, kind of libertarian-ish, basically not an authoritarian, which is where a lot of conservatives actually fall, which I'm going to sound like Dave for a moment, but maybe it's because I haven't done a show with him in so long. For those of you who don't know, an authoritarian is more concerned about letting the government tell you what to do, but basically to stay out of your money business. So private life is government issue, money is not. Then you have the socialist folks on the other side of the spectrum, where they don't want the government really telling them where they are as far as anything to do with their private life. But hey, government control of your money's great. I'm one of those guys that's kind of in the middle. I don't want the government in my private life, and I definitely don't want the government in my wallet. Now, that's always pretty much been me. But at the same time, as we continue to grow and change, the more we're looking at things. And Jason was like, I think maybe if worse comes to worse, another 4 years and maybe we could finally galvanize everything. I don't honestly know if this country can survive another 4 years the way we're being run right now. That's what scares me. That's what concerns me. And that's why a lot of this was started, because before a couple of years ago, folks, I've got to tell you, I mean, other than, the law enforcement, private security, private investigation stuff, I was just a run-of-the-mill Joe like the rest of you. At one point in time, I got angry and I decided, I saw all these political Facebook pages that started springing up, so I started one, and it was completely right of center, and I got bored with it. So I was like, hey, one of the shows I always liked when I first started watching Fox News was the Hannity and Combs show, because it allowed you both perspectives, and then for some reason at some point they kind of moved away from that and they took a hard right turn. So I came up with the idea of building a Facebook page off of that, and I asked my good liberal friend Dave, who is more JFK-style liberal, to help me administer the page, and then it kind of grew into a group project. And then it went through a few evolutions, and that's where we eventually wound up with both the Common Ground political page and the Finding Common Ground radio show, which is the one that actually launched everything. And then, honestly, what had happened is after, because back then we were doing that show for 2 hours. It's pretty much always been 2 hours until recently. But after 2 hours of, every once in a while he would say something that would completely push my buttons. So then I decided, I'm going to do the solo show. So that's how this one was born. And then this one was picked up by iHeartRadio. It's been picked up by Stitcher. And I've been named by Top Talk Radio, one of the top talk show hosts in the country, which is an awesome thing. I'm not trying to pat myself on the back or toot my own horn, but nobody's more surprised than I am about the overall success. But one of the things that started all this again was the Facebook page, and I ranted and I raved, and then I basically started realizing that, if we're just ranting and raving and we're not getting involved, then we're really not making that much of a difference. So there's been a few charities we've been involved with here and there. Some other, we've had some behind-the-scenes stuff going on. Like I do hopefully plan on having someone at the upcoming convention for the Republican Leadership Conference that'll be right here in Oklahoma City. I'm working on getting to the point where we have people there to actually cover that event for its entirety. So that's one of the things that we are working on. Also, as political season does continue to ramp up, we are going to start trying to get involved in backing more candidates that we actually agree with. Hopefully, if they're willing to, giving them airtime, maybe playing some of their commercials. We are in negotiations with a few, so we shall see. But that's my whole point. If all you're doing is screaming and yelling and ranting and raving and burning things down to the ground, you're really not affecting any type of change. It's time to find a way to be the change. And it doesn't matter what color you are at this point, because the whole damn country's falling apart and nobody wants to talk about it. So white, brown, yellow, red, purple, pink with polka dots, orange sherbet colored, I really don't care. Put down the remote, get off the couch, and find a way to get involved. It really is that simple, because at this point, if we don't start doing something about the fact that a large majority of our population are what are termed low-information voters, we are slowly going to implode. And it really is that simple. It won't be the effects from the outside, or even at this point, the effects of the administrations that we elect. It will be the fact that the majority of our American public really has no idea what the hell is going on and has no interest in learning anything about what's going on. Okay, so as we wind down the show, because we are coming to a close, I am starting a new feature. This will be something that happens weekly. It'll happen probably on every Saturday show, because this is the one that kind of ends one week and starts the other. So, because for me, Saturday is Monday for the radio business. So, something happened this week while I was prepping for a show. I actually got bombarded with some tweets and some pictures about a fellow radio host by the name of Tom O'Halloran. Apparently there was someone who doesn't like Tom very much and basically wanted me to get into the middle of the discussion and start siding with him about the fact that he didn't like Tom O'Halloran very much. First of all, I didn't know this person very well, and I honestly have only had limited exchanges with Tom O'Halloran, so the last thing I'm going to do is jump in the middle of the argument. So, of course, I'm trying to be the guy I usually am, which is the guy in the middle saying, hey, can't we all just get along? And apparently, he took offense to that, so he started calling me everything from a loser to a coward to a politician, all three of which really pissed me off. But eventually, by the end of the conversation, we had come around full circle again to the fact that this guy supposedly served in the military, supposedly did 3 tours in Iraq, and I was a coward because I went public service law enforcement as opposed to going into the military. Never mind the fact that most of my entire damn family has been in the military in one form or another. But I'm still a coward. And of course, his parting shot right after he called me a coward was to block me so that I couldn't talk to him anymore. So, my asshat of the week, for the first time ever, that honor has to go to... Drum roll, please. No, I'm just playing. But let me get his name pulled up for you so you can revel in him as much as I have, because he's not a good guy. I'm just saying. My estimation, my opinion, but I'm still allowed. So my asshat of the week would be William the Lion, otherwise known as @Capt, CAPTWG on Twitter. So the new feature is this one was on me because I decided, screw it, I'm gonna start calling out the people that are complete douche canoes. And sadly, Bunny has already coined the phrase douchebags of the week, so I had to get somewhat creative. Right now, I'm going to start with one. If you would like to participate in nominating whoever you would like the asshat of the week to be, it's very simple. All you gotta do is follow me on Twitter. Shoot me your votes as to who they are. We will tally them up. Winner gets mentioned on air every Saturday. If we continue to get, or if we get good participation at some point, the list may extend. I will probably never go 10, because then at that point I really would be completely stealing Bunny's original idea, and I really don't want to do that. This just all happened, and I was like, hey, this might be a way to get some more people involved, so we shall see. But anyway, so, new feature, asshat of the week. Hit me up on Twitter, give me your votes. Private message, public, it doesn't matter. Of course, the PM me, you have to follow me, so hint, 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 hint. Oh, come on. Shameless promotion. It's got to happen somewhere. I mean, come on. Anyway, so at this point, this is going to do it for this episode of America Off the Rails, because I do have the noon whistle blowing in my ear, so we have officially hit the end of the show. I will be back with you Monday evening at 6 o'clock. And again, at least for the short term, this show is going down to 5 days a week. Thursday, I do another show called Wake Up America. Eric Bowling, thanks for turning my show name into a hashtag. I had it first. But anyway, you're hopefully going to get me some publicity when I start using it every time we air a live show. Because, go back and look, I've been using the name for over 2 years. Just saying. Anyway, so that show, at least for the short term, will air from 6 to 7 in my normal time slot, where Denny, my co-host, host of the Family Factor, joins me, and we go full-on conservative, and we rant and we rave, and then we talk about ways that we hope to make things better. So that is the only major lineup change. We do have some other things that are in the works. Still working on how to get a few new shows that we've picked up worked into the equation, which is why those of you that are tuning in at your usual times looking for shows that are supposed to be there, we are in a bit of a flux right now. I'll be working on that later today after I take a little bit of a break to get the new lineup and everything put together. I know I've been saying that for a while now, but give me a break. I've been sick for like 6 weeks. I am finally feeling better, so back to full strength. Time to get some work done. All right. Again, I know I said it a few minutes ago, but how I end pretty much every single show. If you do not like the way things are in this country, please take a big, long, hard look in the mirror, because you can make a difference. And if you're not, then you have nobody to blame for it but yourself for the direction this country has gone. At this point, we still are a government of the people, by the people, for the people, no matter what the corporations and the politicians want you to think. While we still have that freedom, put down the damn remote, get your ass off the couch, put down the can of Pringles or your snack of your choice, and find a way to get involved. Grassroots movements, start writing letters, write into your politicians. If you don't know who they are, you can find them. You have Google. Google is your friend. It's really easy. You Google, who's my senator? And then you put in your zip code, and it says, hey, guess what? This is your senator. This is your congressman. This is how you can reach them. So let's put some fire to these newly elected Republicans who are basically folding like cheap damn suits every time we turn around, thanks to asshats like Boner. Yes, I said Boner. And the Jurassic one, his counterpart in the Senate, whose suddenly name escapes me. Anyway, he doesn't matter. He's irrelevant. He ain't doing shit anyway. All right, so I'm out of here for the day, folks. You guys enjoy the rest of your weekend. We will have Voices of Global Freedom Radio later this evening. If you want to hear them live, you can tune to their server first. They're on from 4 to 6 Pacific, or 6 to 8 here. We're having issues streaming them live because they use a different type of server than we do. So we typically air them usually starting, usually about 8 to 10. So if you miss them live, feel free to tune back in, check them out then. And then after that, we will have a Red Pill Reality with Riscala over from the Late Night in the Midlands crew on after them from about 10 to 1. And then as far as I know, I think tomorrow's episode of the God's Pure Word of Faith hosted by Richard Harden will be a replay because Denny's usually the one that runs the board for that, and as I previously stated, he is out of town on some business meetings / miniature vacation, so I don't know if he's going to be back in time to run the board for that, but either way, there will be a show up there tomorrow morning, so if you haven't checked it out yet, feel free to do so. We are also in negotiations with another possible faith-based show, as we do still at some point within the next few weeks. I know I keep saying this, but we keep running into snags. We are working on building a faith-based station called K98 Grace. There are some things that we're trying to work out to make sure that everybody is fully covered, because at some point it's going to play music, at other points it's going to have teaching, at some point we'll have, hopefully, what I like to consider faith-based news programs. So since we do plan on playing some music, there are some legalities we have to deal with first. So that's the reason it hasn't really launched yet, because as of right now, we would really only have 1, maybe 2 things to play over there, and it's just not worth it right now to invest in yet another whole set of infrastructure. So as we continue to build this one up and work behind the scenes, we will be bringing you that one soon. If you want to kind of get a little bit of a taste of what it might be like, you can still like the K98 Grace page on Facebook. It's www.facebook.com/K98 Grace. Right now, it's basically me just kind of throwing a few things up there. Songs that I like that will probably be played there. News stories that kind of fit in with the faith-based theme, and we'll just kind of keep adding to it as we go. And eventually, once we get all the groundwork laid, there will be a station running under that name. All right, so at this point, I've run even longer than I had intended to. So we are definitely going to shut things down for the day, because I don't know about you guys, but I've been up really early, and I have not yet been able to find anything resembling food today, and I am a fat kid. So we're out. You guys take care.
For our own cause, we got a pen and telephone to bypass all your laws. Political correctness will replace the Bill of Rights. Support religious freedom, lest you pray to Jesus Christ. The press is in our pockets cause there's no one free. You cannot make a move now that the NSA can see. Don't expect equality, respect for fair play. The IRS will target those who vote the wrong way.